Detroit, Detroit is different. Detroit, Detroit is different. Culture and life we live in. Detroit, Detroit is different. Detroit, Detroit is different. Detroit, Detroit is different. Culture and life we live in. Detroit, Detroit is different.
Welcome back to the Detroit is Different podcast studios. And in studio, I have someone that is a part of the technical tree of Kari Frazier. So I know you guys are like, what are you talking about, right?
Yeah.
So similar to like when they talk about like the NFL head coaches, like this guy was a coordinator for that guy, and then he went to this school and that and that and that. A lot of the arc of this stuff that I do, anything technical, where we're talking about mixing boards, video, well, pre-video and everything, just audio itself, it's connected to this brother. And you definitely should recognize the voice if you've been in the city of Detroit for like, I don't know, the past 30-something years. If you've experienced purchasing some tickets to Shane Park, the Music Hall, Fox Theater, like anything where it's going to interact with some black folks going and perform it, you have heard the voice. And now you get a little bit of the story. Gerald McBride, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. How you doing? What an introduction.
Oh, man.
Wow, that was awesome, Kari.
Definitely. But it's real. You know what I'm saying? I don't think, we jokingly talk about it like within that coach's tree. But my big cousin Lumumba, when you're a kid, you look up to your older cousins. So I knew him really then as DJR too. So my introduction to hip hop comes through Lumumba.
Right.
And in that arc of a lot of those DJs, as we found like through the story of Christian Hill, Drake Pfeiffer, so many other people, Hot Wax, and she's still spinning, but like, all types of other things at Lawrence Tech, like the person that's the DJ in high school sometimes goes on to become very technical in many things. You know what I'm saying?
That's so true.
So this whole concept of like, DJs and what they do, I mean, Jason Wilson around the corner and many others. And Detroit is home to some very, world-renowned DJs in all forms of music.
That is so true.
The Belleville Four, they often uplift for founding in techno and many of the people in house, but techno, house, ballroom, stepping, funk, reggae, it just goes across the spectrum.
Yeah.
Detroit DJs have impacted the world, and you are one that definitely has been a part of the journey of so many different people, man.
Yeah, thank you so much. I just had this flashback, man, when you're talking about Lumumba, and I remember you as a teenager coming to the studio. I don't know, you might have been 12, 13 years old, baby, man. We were at River Place, man. But that really goes to show you also that you never know who's watching you. And I just actually put together a video that kind of gave that message, as I started at 16 years old and hanging out at WJLB when it was on AM 1400.
Wow.
And I was what they call a Soul Team reporter. And those of you who are old enough remember Soul Team reporters. You may not remember that, Kari, but at Mumford, I had the opportunity to go to WJLB just like I had students from Cass Tech and Redford and Pershing and Denby and, all the other schools. And we all went to WJLB and we got probably about half an hour to record our 1-minute report of what was happening at our high school. And these reports were actually recorded by Donnie Simpson. And Donnie would just, he'd be on these reel-to-reels, man. He's like, okay, you got one take.
That's a good Donnie Simpson, too.
Yeah. And I would read my report of what was happening at Mumford. And Donnie, of course, we all made mistakes, and he would just say, just keep going, just keep going. But then to watch him take a grease pencil, and if you don't know what a grease pencil is, it's a big yellow magic marker looking wax pen, and you take that and you mark the tape and you have to cut out the mistakes to edit, in or out mistakes. And that's what he was doing, man. And I was just watching this guy with this razor blade, man, and this ink pencil, and it was just amazing, after he put it all together and then put music to it, and then said, "Okay, you're done." And then, next few days we'd hear it on the radio, and all the kids would be like, "Man, I heard you on the radio, man. Give me a shout out," and all this. I was like, "Oh man, I love this." And then the other thing. One day, Donnie decided to allow a couple of us to come into the studio and watch him do his show. And wow, man, that was just surreal. I mean, it was just amazing to watch him actually be on the radio, somebody that I admired and listened to every day, Monday through Friday when he came on at 6 o'clock on WJLB. But to be in the studio with him was really an amazing experience. And we weren't allowed to really say anything, just kind of just step back and just kind of watch what he was doing. But I'll never forget, at the time, my brother was actually playing for Stevie Wonder in a group called Wonder Love. And Stevie Wonder produced an album for Minnie Riperton, which has one of her biggest hits on it called Loving You, but the album was called Perfect Angel. And my brother actually played the bass on the majority of the songs on that album. So Donnie pulls out the album and he turns around and he says, "Hey, man, this is your brother, Reggie McBride, on bass on this album, right?" I said, "Yeah, that's my brother." And he puts it on the turntable, man, and he opens up the mic and he says, 1400 WJLB, this is the Love Bug, Donnie Simpson, and this is Reasons by Minnie Riperton featuring Gerald McBride's brother, Reggie McBride on bass. And oh my goodness, man. No, man. I mean, that moment was just one of those moments, man, that I'll never forget. And, once I saw that and had the opportunity to be in the studio with him, I knew that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be on radio.
Wow. A phenomenal story. And you all could definitely, if you're familiar with a lot of this, I mean, he has given a richness, and I've learned so much more about some of the soul music artists that I love and funk music artists through just listening to your show. But also setting everything up. You all see it's dynamic what's being delivered here. And,
yes.
And you touched on those JLB reporters. Actually has been another account of that here in Detroit is different. Shout out to Arena Perry because she was one for the Cooley Cardinals at one point in time.
Awesome.
Yep,
I know the program went on for a while. Actually, I think they also started it again once WJLB established itself on FM as FM 98. As a matter of fact, I had a young guy who was a team reporter for his school too. I can't remember what school he went to, but he became my intern. And worked with me for a couple of years as I made my transition to WMXD. So the program, it was just an important program for young kids, man, just to be inside of a radio. And unfortunately, those opportunities aren't there anymore. I mean, radio has changed so much, but I still think it would be nice for, young kids to kind of learn behind the scenes, at least how radio works now. I think the other unfortunate thing is that kids just aren't listening to the radio like they used to, man.
Things have definitely
shifted. They have changed, man. So,
much more.
we just did a panel discussion for Black History Month over at the WGPR Museum and talking about, the history of radio, but also the future. And it's kind of hard to predict what the future of radio is going to be now because, radio just has so much competition. And you have, people can make their own playlists on their phones. They're listening on YouTube and they got all kind of different platforms, man, to listen to music besides radio. And then on top of that, as they do listen on these different platforms, it's commercial free, Well, maybe an ad or two may pop up.
Depending upon what you pay.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Excuse me. But not like, a commercial break where you're hearing 7 minutes or 8 minutes worth of commercials in between songs.
Man, we're here. So I'm going to drive down here and we'll get back to how I usually start these because we're here. And it's all things that are very pressing and relevant as I talked about that coaching tree. and also the starts of so many people. I think it's connected to passions, and knowing that that's kind of unlocked. And when we think of Donnie Simpson, for me, Donnie Simpson was BET. As the host of Video Soul with Ray Child. Well, okay, Ray Child was fine as ever. So it's like it was like, okay, I'm watching for her, but like Donnie Simpson's smooth, cool delivery, and just managing and balancing this upstart television network at that time, and that's clearly like those Detroit roots. You talk about the GPR exhibit in museum. I mean, when you think of Martha Jean the Queen and what she did, just as a woman in business,
absolutely.
And I think so many people always have like, I mean, first off, like being a giant of so much to people in life, and you know, being so grounded in community, where she stood, and the electrifying mojo, and
yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Even like, you know what I'm saying? Even like the time that Mason has spent here, you as a radio giant.
Yeah, Frankie Darcell, Janet G, Chris McClendon, and the list just goes on and on. It goes
on and
absolutely.
on and on.
Jay Butler. And as you mentioned, Martha Jean the Queen, as I was growing up, of course, listening to Donnie Simpson and listening to WJLB on, just because my mother just kept the radio on all the time. I mean, radio was just, if you wanted to know what was going on, you had to listen to the radio.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just so in touch with the community, and not including just the, you know, the great music that we grew up listening to on stations like WJLB. But I remember coming in the house at 12 o'clock every day, and my mother would sit at the dining room table glued to the radio. We had the big hi-fi. If you know, those of you who remember that, you know, that was a combination of television, radio, turntable, and speakers all in a cabinet.
Yeah,
it was called the hi-fi.
It was the entertainment system of its day.
Yeah, it sure was. But Martha Jean the Queen would come on, man, and my mother would say, look, stop, don't say nothing, because I'm listening to the Queen right now.
Yeah.
And she would listen with her undivided attention for an hour. And I'll never forget, Martha Jean would come on with a song by James Cleveland called Without a Song every day. And she would say, for the sick and the shut-in.
Yes.
You know? But she would have a message for you every day, Monday through Friday. And I got a chance to meet Martha Jean later on when she started, well, actually when she purchased a radio station, which was WQBH. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but she was actually an owner of a radio station, and just a wonderful person, just a beautiful lady.
Yeah. And giant in community. And I think making this the key observation in a lot of this, and there were giants also in talk radio here when we think of Black voices as well, but the key dynamic to uplift is more of the creative control from DJs at points in times that could be done. And I definitely think someone that has your tenure in how you do your show and the mix show,
right,
it's a little bit different, but at one point in time, it just would be known. And when we talk about like even that DC connection, the Talk to Me movie with Don Cheadle speaking to Petey Green's story,
absolutely,
with Mr. Hughes and what they did. But it was a point in time, even in my lifetime, where you would drive to other cities, like even a city as close as Flint. What they were playing in Flint on the radio was not what they were playing in Detroit on the radio. Now, there would be some hits that kind of cross, you know, you would hear Thriller everywhere or Bad or something, but it would be like niche and specific from town to town, and also between DJ to DJ. So each DJ had like a arc of its own personality and freedom in that creativity.
Absolutely. That is so true. And I don't know if people, to your point, I just don't know if people really realize how blessed they were to be raised and to listen to radio in Detroit, because you had so many different choices.
Yeah.
You had all of these R&B radio stations that played, some of the same things, but were all slightly different too as well. So you got a wide variety of music that you normally wouldn't get in another city because some of these cities didn't even have urban radio stations.
Yeah.
So when you come to Detroit and you got, at one time, we had WJLB, we got WDRQ, we had WLBS, then we got a station like WJZZ, and then you have 107.5. You got 5 R&B stations on in one city with a wide variety of music. First of all, if we just talk about WJZZ by itself, I mean, what other city would have a station that played Jean LaPonte, Pat Metheny, Stanley Clark, Donald Byrd, Bobby Humphrey, Phyllis Hyman, and the list just goes on and on of this contemporary fusion jazz that you could only get in this city. So WJCC, I had the opportunity to work there too as well, was just a historical, legendary radio station.
And it impacted industries in many ways. I mean, people often talk about the relationship that Mojo supporter Prince basically built a fan base here in Detroit. But as you talk about Jay-Z, it's to the point where it's so funny. Shout out to Mr. Toes, but my homie Sterling's father last year wanted to go to a Michael Franks concert.
Yes.
And I'm not saying Michael Franks doesn't have fans across the country and even across the world, but it's certain jazz artists that looked at the Detroit market because of how radio would play some of their music, where it's almost like a person, like if you guys kind of know the tour runs, it usually would go, if you guys kind of like an artist will go from, so you come from east usually and go west. So you go like from Detroit.
Yes.
Then you can really pick up like possibly Pittsburgh and Cleveland. And then you come to Detroit, and then you would go to Chicago. As times went on, it would almost be people that would end up like, like Detroit. Well, it would go from New York to Detroit and then bounce back to some of those other dates that were further east and then come back to Detroit and then go west.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. But no, we had such a variety here. And then just think of the musical knowledge, first of all, as DJs that we had, but I mean, the listeners really knew music, and they still do. And I feel very fortunate to be able to have the freedom to play a lot of the music that that I grew up on and learned to listen to over the years from all of these different radio stations and all these different formats.
Very much so. And I mean, people definitely Mojo's influence impacted many.
Yes, it did.
But the diverse musical taste was always present. So, like, Lumumba included. So, like, if you went to LPs or vinyl records were usually kept in crates. But it was easy to see, like, somebody in the hood crate, men and women, where, like, you'd see, Run DMC, then you would see Bob Seger, then you see Miles Davis. Then you see Michael Jackson. Then you see the OJs. And then you see Motown records. Then you see and it's like, what is going on with this collection?
That's because of what they grew up on. I mean, you got a Mojo who's going to play Peter Frampton 10-minute version. Do you feel like I do? And, and then back that up with some Jimi Hendrix. And next thing you know, you're hearing, Ernie Isley, imitating Jimi Hendrix on Summer Breeze. And, and that from Earth, Wind, and Fire to Michael Jackson and Prince, of course. And, just a variety of B-52s. And,
I was gonna speak to the B-52s, like some of the most hood people I know. Some OGs. It's like a collection of like 200 of them from Highland Park that anytime the B-52s go, to the point where I had to ask Coco about it. And it was like, what? You ain't know me?
Mesopotamia, man. Come on, man. Like, I think it's all because of, us having the opportunity to have the freedom to play that kind of music. I think it's, of course it was rare to have a air personality like Mojo who's allowed to do that. And that station just kind of taking the chance that he was going to have a following and have listeners, and it turned out to be one of the greatest things for WGPR.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So we going to start with the roots of these, how we usually start. Your family. How many generations deep to the city of Detroit are your people?
Oh, how many generations deep? Let's see. Well, that's a good question. I was just asked that not too long ago.
Hilarious.
And
I got you.
we kind of having a conversation with a couple of family members, like, we should. My mother's deceased now, but it's like
condolences.
And I wish I would have gotten more information. I don't know how many people said that, and I don't want to get ahead of your questions, but it's one of the reasons why I wrote a book, which is my memoir, just so my kids and my grandkids would really know the details of how many generations, and that I at least could acknowledge in my book, which was probably from Detroit. Maybe 2.
Okay. All right. What neighborhood do you?
I grew up in 7 Mile Livernois area, but I actually grew up in Inkster, Michigan, and we moved to Detroit when I was 12 years old.
Okay.
Which was a culture shock, by the way. I mean, it was. You grow up in Inkster, Michigan, man, which is an all-black community. You got the black grocery store there, black-owned grocery stores and restaurants, and then coming to Detroit and moving to an all-Jewish neighborhood was quite different.
Yeah. I could only imagine what that feel was like. We definitely had some stories on Inkster here as well.
Yeah, but a good thing. A good thing. Of course, moving to Inkster and going to Hampton Junior High School right there down the street from where I lived, and from there to Mumford, which was
Mustang.
Which was one of the greatest schools ever, man. Of course, and I talk about some of these things in the book, but we all wanted to be NBA stars, so going to Mumford, man, and trying out for the basketball team, man, and you had these great guys on the team like the Punchy Martin, Dwight Darvins, and Kevin Moore, and all of these great basketball players. And here I come, at 4'8", thinking I'm going to make the team. And I immediately got cut. And I was like, then I go back the next season and try again. I get cut again. And I'm thinking, okay, now I need to start thinking about where my gift is, because it's obviously not basketball.
Okay.
I'm 6'2" now, though, but, I was 4'8" in Mumford. So I didn't grow until I graduated.
Oh, man.
But that was kind of a cool thing, man, because it kind of led me to radio. I kind of made my way to the radio class.
And I definitely know you did the announcement there.
I did.
And with that, I guess the next question, you probably get this question often too, the announcer voice.
Yeah.
Because you definitely, people be like, man, it sounds like that. And,
I think I kept trying to make my voice sound deep, and one day it got stuck.
Okay, I got you.
But no, man, I'm 4'8", man. I had a little squeaky voice, but it matured, and this is it.
Okay, and in this arc, DJing itself, when do you get some turntables? When is this something that you're like, I want to do this?
I think that kind of happened in Mumford, getting into the radio broadcasting class, doing announcements. And, the teacher there was an elderly white lady by the name of Mrs. Ward. Okay. And she didn't really concentrate on, you're going to be on the radio and you're going to play music. Because she was more into articulation and diction and learning how to speak correctly on the air and inflection and all of those things, which were so very, very important. And I think also having the opportunity to become a part of the drama club at Mumford High School and be taught under Bob Cooran, who kind of took me under his arm and said, hey, you know what? I think, you could do radio, or you could go into acting. So, it was kind of a combination, of the two, which is, when you think about it, radio is the theater of the mind. So that was so after being cut off the basketball team, it was just a great place for me to land in radio and drama and being on the stage and in the radio station at Mufford High School. And both of those teachers really kind of encouraged me. I'll never forget, actually, Bob Cooran was the booth announcer for Channel 20, WXON.
Okay.
So, every day I would hear him on TV. This is WXON, Channel 20. And I was like, man, that is such a cool job. And he says, and he just said this to me. He says, you know what, you could do that one day. And I was like, wow. That really kind of stuck with me. And, when I heard him do that, I'd imitate it, and practice doing that station ID for Channel 20 like he did, Channel 20, WXON, Detroit. And, here I am doing that for a living. So I think the point here is, man, these teachers in high school, during those formative years when kids in the 10th and 11th grade are trying to find out where their gift is, where their talent is, that those teachers can pull it out of them. And that's exactly what happened for me. I'm so blessed, man, to have those two teachers who kind of guided me and got me, of course, into the Soul Team Reporter program and much more.
So in that, this is where it's like, you be talking so much in your podcast, but I like to contextualize things.
That's all right, man. Go ahead.
Love to contextualize things. And part of contextualizing is announcement itself. So right now, just due to the arc, I think of a little bit of, like you say, the ways in which we're, not just music, now it's like we put everything in the category of media, and we even receive media, we interpret media, we experience it. It's in a different arc, because different things exist with, pyrotechnics and these huge jumbotrons and all of this, but one of the most important, I think, elements to a lot of great performance of yesteryear was how announcement would come. One of the best movie introductions of this that I think you can really witness as people connect to it in the movie Ray, with Jamie Foxx playing Ray Charles. It's a deviation between almost like what we would consider what they say, like boogie woogie music of what he would play in his interpretation of jazz and rock and roll. Really a lot of this Charlie Parker type style. Then it transitions and he becomes more of a artist to larger venues. At that time, Carnegie Hall is grand. And the grand experience was how you would be announced, right? So his announcer exists. But I think in the hearts and minds of a lot of Black audiences, it's a performer that it changes the whole arc of performance when we think of performance and what an announcer does. And that's Mr. Dynamite. That's Mr. James Brown. So the announcing of James Brown, if you ever were to see it live or even watch it, a show itself, part of the timing of how music was played, the ways they would edify what the performance would be connected to the dance. And what this does is it captures the audience where they're like, what will I see? Because just the most dynamic performer you're going to ever see.
Kari,
Mr.
it's
Dynamite.
the setup. It's the setup is so very, very important. And when you mention that, I can't remember the guy's name who actually was a part of the show and James Brown's MC for many, many years was just so very, very important a part of the show because he got the crowd hype. I mean, it's almost like a rapper having a hype man. I mean, you gotta have that hype man to get the people ready. You know, and sometimes it just seems strange to me to go to a concert and just kind of see the artist walk on stage. To me, you know, it's like, man, they needed somebody to introduce them, you know.
And my favorite art form of hip hop is many critiques I have the older I get about it, but that's one of the key things, especially because rappers kind of took on the moniker of MC. I think a lot because Rakim started calling himself like the master MC.
Yeah.
Well, however it goes, but a master of ceremony does exactly like what you said. It's like it's going to ground and center, similar to like, you know, you guys have attended a panel or any discussion. And if the host isn't grounded, what happens? things can get out of control.
Man, absolutely. Absolutely. But it's so very, very important. Can you imagine Steve Harvey coming on just to start Family Feud without somebody saying, ladies and gentlemen, get ready.
Yeah.
Here he comes, the one and only Steve Harvey.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
right.
It's just like, come on, man. You know, you gotta have that. That's just so important, man. I think. I mean, I know it's an I don't think it's some old-fashioned thing. I think it's necessary.
I think, I mean, even with, I love boxing so much, but same thing with Michael Buffer has become, I want to say like the Let's Get Ready to Rumble. I want to say that's like a trademark for like $1 million. And
wow.
I mean, I saw him the other week before the Barrios Ryan Garcia fight, like announcing that. And I mean, it's to the point where it's like, man, Michael Buffer's, he's up there.
I know. I have to tell you a quick story about Michael Buffer, man. Now, I actually did some commercials for, oh, golly, I can't think of the name of the Las Vegas arena that I was actually doing some commercials for. They were doing some concerts in, and I was being paid through this arena for some commercials that I did. And they accidentally sent me a Michael Buffer check, and I'm like, wow, and it had his name on it and everything. And I'm thinking, this guy gets paid a lot for saying, let's get ready to rumble.
At that tagline, it's like, definitely, like so many prize fights. It just fit.
Yeah. And you just, nobody can use that. That's copywritten, man.
Yeah, trademark and everything.
Absolutely. It's a trademark, man. You cannot just do that. I mean, he is the only one that can say that. I know that sounds crazy, but he owns it. He owns it.
And all of this goes. I mean, and I love even the talk of I kind of learned a little bit through somebody I was working with him at the time, but even what Mason's done with Detroit
I was thinking
basketball.
the same thing. I was thinking the same thing, and how he just changed the whole format and style of announcing basketball games with that Detroit basketball. Yeah. Not just that, the way he introduces the players, man.
Yeah.
And I don't know if people really realize what the talent and just. Man, that's a Detroit thing. It's a Detroit thing that spread. I mean, you hear other guys now in other cities and on other teams imitating Mason.
Oh, I mean, definitely. I mean, it's Cleveland basketball, it's Charlotte basketball. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But the way they introduce the players, I mean, the way he used to do Chauncey, number, I can't remember what number. Yeah, Chauncey Billups.
It gets, as you say, the setup.
Absolutely.
And the setup matters so much because it captures, like you say, the hearts and the minds. But now I'm paying a whole lot more attention than, it's not like I wouldn't pay attention without it, but, especially when we think of like just, I mean, this distraction that is carried around all the time with us, it's going to get you away from that.
Let me tell you what it is, though. It's a brand. Voice Michael Buffer, Mason, myself. It's a brand. And I have to tell you another quick story about a brand now. For 10 years, I was the voice of Mr. Allen's, the 29 or 2 for 50, and then people would probably never forget that commercial.
No, I definitely would.
I've told some people that I was the voice of Mr. Allen. I've done a lot of commercials for a lot of people, but for some reason, 29 or 2 for 50, Pele, 29 or 2 for 50, Mr. Allen's, stands out more than anything, especially if you're from Detroit, more than anything that I've done, man.
I would say,
but it's the brand. It's the brand
that stands out. But actually, the one that stands out in my mind most that you've done is the Universal Circus.
Oh, Universal! Wow, that's interesting.
That's what. Yeah, like it's like I can't think of that circus without your voice.
You know what I think it is, though,
mix.
Curry? I think what it is. I think when you were hanging around the studio, we were actually doing a lot of Universal Circus commercials back then when it had just started. And the interesting story about that is that I'll never forget, I actually did a lot of other commercials for that promoter, for the guy who actually created the Universal Circus. He actually did a lot of Fresh Fest festivals when he had Fat Boys and LL Cool J and Run DMC, and a few others on his show, Roxanne Shante, and he traveled across the country, and I used to do the commercials for him. And then one day he says, you know what, I think I'm going to get out of the concert business and I'm going to do an all-black circus. And he said this in my office, and we're thinking,
that sounds...
that sounds impossible, man.
Yes.
Well, where are you going to get... Because, the first thing you think is like, man, black people ain't going to mess with no tigers. That's what we all thinking, man. Like, black people, elephant trainers, it just wasn't registering with us. Like, man, you really, we thought he was tripping, man. I'm telling you, to be quite honest. And his name is Ricky Walker, and I've told him this story. So if he sees this podcast, I'm sure he'll laugh. But we all thought, man, that is never going to work. And then all of a sudden he says, well, I'm ready. And what he did is that we're kind of thinking locally, like, okay, you're going to go to Detroit and find some guys who can run with some tigers. But you know what I mean? So, but he traveled around the world, man. And he went to all kind of places that were unimaginable to us to find all of these different acts. And he pulled this circuits together, and then he came to us and said, hey, we're ready for a commercial for the Universe Soul Circus now. We want to make this sound like a black circus, and that's exactly what we did. And actually, myself and Lumumba were the ones who probably did the first commercials for Universe Soul Circus. Yeah.
And that stands out in my mind so much. Yeah. I also remember that experience, and it's hard to go back in time in your mind before which you knew it was, but after it's like, this is a black circus because, it got to the point, I think, a couple of times, and I definitely know with like animal rights activists and many other organizations have shifted what happens there, but, Barnum and Bailey just felt, I don't know, it just, like, Universe Soul Circus just changed the whole way that I thought what a circus was. To begin with. Which kind of lands right into this arc. I mean, we talk DJing and voiceover productions. A business you start, and these are different. There are so many different opportunities inside many businesses, but definitely in this space. Voiceover is one key. And I don't know if people kind of know, like right now, I guess, you go online and people are like, I got a good voice. I want to start reading books. And,
I hear that all the time.
Like, I want to be an audiobook reader and things like that. You get into the voiceover business. How does that start? When does it hit you to be like, let me, in between DJing and working how does voiceover production start?
Well, let me tell you how that actually started. But first of all, just going back into the history of my career and a lot of radio personalities who may have started in the 70s or even before that. I started in the late 70s, 80s was my primary years of my beginnings of radio. But once we got off the air, from doing 4 hours on the radio, they put you into a radio production room, and you had to learn how. If you didn't know how, you had to figure it out, how to produce 4 or 5 different commercials. So you went to your mailbox outside the studio, and you see 4 or 5 scripts for all kind of different stuff. So just kind of give you an example, when I worked in Flint for my first job, I mean, I would get out. I would get off the air, and there'd be maybe 5 or 6 commercials, like for things like grocery stores, like Shorthorn Meats and Karen's Carpets, and just all kind of different,
local advertisers,
local advertisers, exactly, local advertisers. And you would have to figure it out, and they'd have all kind of things on there. Okay, we want sound effects in here. We want this kind of music. We want this kind of read, and you had to figure that kind of thing out. Harvey, it's like, okay, this has got to be read fast. I need to put emphasis on this and that, and they want sound effects on this. And you had to figure that out with tape recorders and cart machines back then. So there was no reverb, there was no effects units, there was no computers, there was nothing. It was all manual, man, trying to make these things all happen. And I just got really good at that part of it. Okay. And some of the clients started requesting for me to do their commercials. And I thought, okay, well, wait a minute. Okay, I'm not getting paid for this, but at least you're asking for me.
Yeah.
And once I came to Detroit for my first job at WLBS, I had gotten pretty good at making radio commercials. And a guy named Quentin Perry and Billy Sparks, who were two local promoters, and they had a company called Taurus Productions, and they were looking for a voice to be their voice of their commercials.
Okay.
An exclusive voice for their commercials. And they hired me to do their commercials for $50 a pop. So I became the voice of Taurus Productions. And back then, Taurus Productions was doing, Teddy Pendergrass, concerts for Teddy Pendergrass, for Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Did you do the all-women Teddy Pendergrass show?
I did. I did. The ladies only. Ladies only. It was called Ladies Only. It sure was. Okay. Absolutely. So Teddy was selling the jeans and the Teddy jeans and all of that, man. But no, I did that. But one of the first commercials that I actually did for them, they had Rick James and Prince at Cobo. Okay. And now neither artist knew this, but even back then they called it a battle royale. And they wanted me to put the two up against each other in the commercials. You know, coming to Cobo Hall, October 11th, it's Prince taking on Rick James. Who are you going to vote for? And a Rick James song comes in, and then, or Prince, and a Prince song, a little piece of Prince song comes in. Get your tickets now at Ticketmaster in the box office or charge by phone. Be there for the battle royale. Neither artist knew that they were actually in a battle, but it was sold out, and people were expecting, this great battle to happen. And let me tell you, Kari, it was $11.50 to get in, $11.50 to see Rick James and Prince at Cobo Hall.
Okay, so a couple points, back to give context of some of the things I know. So first off, with Fresh Fest, that also kind of connects to shout out to Hump the Grinder. Now that makes more sense of he was saying he was the guys that was doing that and love Hump. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's working with them. So some of that support was anchored here because I think one of the first two Fresh Fest, Hump was helping in promotion.
Oh no, he did a street campaign, but even more so than that, I remember actually producing commercials for Hump and for the hair shows.
Wow!
He had something called the Harrycopter. The Harrycopter, man. But no, his commercials were so creative, man. Those were the days when we were really cranking out a lot of radio commercials, man. But Hump had the hair shows, man, that were huge. Yeah, huge. But you're right. He actually started out as a street campaign guy for concerts.
He was still one of the most creative minds, even this day, as an OG. Love Hump.
Yeah.
And then you talk about as they know, Teddy Pendergrass, and I know it was some promoters that said, look, we're going to do, as you say, the ladies only show.
Yeah, the ladies only. Right.
And up to this point, and some of this is barbershop conversational stories from OGs and stuff.
Right,
but up to this point, I'm not necessarily saying that, brothers were the first people being so supportive of Teddy Pendergrass, but a lot of brothers really like Teddy Pendergrass because his work with Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. The ladies only concert kind of changes a point in time where where his fan base goes.
But Billy Sparks and Quentin Perry's goal was to really attract all the ladies. But what happens when you attract all the ladies? What they're saying to their guy is that, get me a ticket, I want to go. You got to take me. So, and then guys like Teddy Pendergrass, man. Teddy, even though it was turn off the lights to the ladies, man, guys like to hear that song too. That and Come On and Go With Me and, the whole town's laughing. Teddy's had a string of Close the Door. Close the Door, TKO. Okay, we know you're singing to the ladies, but I still want to hear those songs. So
it's only one Teddy Pendergrass. It's a concert full.
So it wasn't like there were no guys there, but yes, it was marketed towards the ladies only. Yeah. And I know a lot of ladies, if they're watching this, remember that, man. That was that was the 80s, man.
And the Rick James Prince.
Yeah.
I've read Rick James' autobiography, which is it's entertaining to read. So some of this, I definitely think it's one person's perspective,
and he talks about that in the book, right?
Yeah, very, very much so. And in the whole arc of Prince, and him, they've had the beef between them, and I think it was really more Rick to Prince than the other way around.
I think so too.
And also, rest in peace. So rest in peace, Clay McMurray, a Motown producer. And he's how I met, the legendary Norman Whitfield, Motown producer. So, and I would tell, like, I always say this, like, the stories that they would tell about Rick James, I was like, man, this don't even make sense. And this is before the Chappelle skit.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So my sister's staying upstairs from me, and I always tell this story. I'm like, look, because like the preview for that episode came, and I'm like, look, I'm gonna tell you, if the story that's about to come on TV through Charlie Murphy is anything like sort of close to what Clay and Norman would say about Rick, it's gonna be probably maybe the best TV show this year.
Right.
And I mean, it just because, man.
Right.
The Rick James stories, and he lived, I don't know if a lot of people know this, Rick James lived in Detroit before, becoming the Motown star, and even before he played with, what's his name? The white guitar player too, like, and went to Canada. Like, he lived in Detroit for a while. And if you run into any of those people and get some of those stories, it gets even more like, man.
I could imagine. I heard a lot about that book, though.
Yes.
but yeah, I think who won the battle, I guess, is a better question. They say, and this is what I've heard the promoters say, that actually Prince won.
Yeah.
And what happened was, once he came out on stage, the ladies all jumped out of their seat and rushed to the stage. It was like a stampede.
Wow. Wow.
And I think they're basing that reaction that Prince actually won that battle between Prince and Rick James at Kobo.
In
1982, 1983. Maybe somewhere around there. Yeah.
Yeah, because, like, I mean, this is just music stories. Yeah. So, like, I guess Prince was, like, opening for the Rolling Stones at one point in time.
Right.
And I guess because some of those same reactions, Mick Jagger was like, oh, he can't be on our tour. Something happened where, like, some of the same promoters were like, hey, we can get him on the leg of some of these Rick James dates.
Right.
Rick, like I said, I never met him, but many stories. I think after seeing some of the response, he felt like some of his style was being taken from other people. But just a phenomenal moment in music itself. I think hip hop is definitely grounded a lot in jazz, but certainly a lot in funk. And the beats, the rhythms, the bass lines, and I think Stone City Band I don't think they get like half the credit I think that group of musicians deserves. Just period.
Right.
Right.
I wonder what would happen if I did Rick James versus Prince on the radio.
Oh, I mean, days. You would get people would go Prince all day in Detroit. You think? You know what I think it would be, you know what I'm saying?
We might have to bring that back, man, see what happens.
I mean, and now I guess we kind of get into that as well. The verses. For a lot of people, verses for you guys was when COVID-19 happened and you would watch
I'm watching this take off. I'm
Timberland
like,
But damn near like most of my radio life, especially, and that's what made your mix show so dynamic. You would have verses of these different soul acts, and most of the verses were like you really had to sit back and think to yourself, like, I don't know. Like you would have to sit back and say, I like the OJs or the Whispers?
Right. You have to give it some thought. Right.
And people would call in, and then they tell their stories,
and then just
it became
so
very
opinionated,
interactive.
man, and passionate about their artists who should win. And but actually, Curry, I can't really take credit for that. There's nothing original in radio. I mean, there's a guy who in Chicago who did this years ago.
Okay.
And of course, Mojo did Star Wars. And so we're just on the radio just one night and decided, well, let's try and put Michael Jackson up against Prince and see what happens. And that led to the Whispers and the OJs the next week, and the following week, Earth, Wind, and Fire. Amazing. It kept going and going and going. And as the response grew, So did my stations, you know, and I've been doing that now for almost 25 years.
Wow.
Yeah, this
Wow.
battle of the old, we call it the battle of the old school, not verses, but the battle of the old school has been going on for 25 years.
Man, to the point where like some of the acts that weren't even old school at the time now
They are
be in
old
the
school.
mix.
Exactly.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly, man. And yeah, and it's turned out to be, like I said, up to 33 stations who also enjoy this music that we play from Detroit and these battles. So we have people calling every weekend from all around the world, man, that vote for their favorite artists. So last night we had the opportunity to do Barry White against Teddy Pendergrass. Which
I was gonna say I've heard one of those before, and I definitely vote Teddy Pendergrass.
Okay.
Like if I had to give a vote, but it's back to like the what was it, the Love Orchestra Unlimited, another
Love Unlimited
amazing
Orchestra.
like the music. It's
I
like
know,
what
man.
is going
the
on
arrangement, yeah, just awesome, just awesome. Yeah, but just a lot of great music. You know, yeah, these songs, man. I feel very fortunate and blessed to still be on the air and actually share these musical memories. But it's something about this music, Kari, that's just that there's no expiration date on it, that these songs are, some of them are 5 decades old. Let me give a great example here. For the Love of You, which is not For the Love of You, I'm sorry. The album by the Isley Brothers, The Heat Is On, there's a cut called Make Me Say It Again, Girl.
Yeah.
Beyonce takes that same track just maybe a year or two ago and adds her vocals to it with the original vocals of Ron Isley, and the same music, pretty much the same music, and turns it into a #1 hit all over again. And that song is 50 years old, man.
Yeah.
50 years old. So I just want to make that point. And I think that says a lot about the music that I play every Saturday night, and the old school music that you hear, is that people still enjoy hearing it. And it's just something about this music that never gets old. It's timeless.
And as you talk about like the timelessness of the music, the stories you've offered over time, it's like it adds layers to the songs because, you know, you have your appreciation for a song.
Yes.
But then as you understand more of what's happening in and around about it, like, and I think that you've been one of the best with people like, man, you always listening to him. And I'm like, it's like layers that like just different levels, but you've offered a lot of perspective, I think, on one of my favorite artists, in Donnie Hathaway. You know what I'm saying? And he's an act, and Bill Withers, like it's some acts where the music and then when you understand more of the story, it adds layers to, like, you know.
Absolutely. And when you think about it, Kari, like for instance, if you're into Donnie Hathaway, one of his greatest album was his live album that he did.
Yes.
And you won't hear this kind of music these days from musicians or artists. I don't care if they're making it with computers or what, but you're not going to hear a 13-minute record where you hear 4 or 5 solos from the guitar player, the drummer, the keyboard player, the bass player, the saxophone player, you know, all in 13 minutes and enjoy every part of it without any words.
Yeah.
Everything is Everything has no vocals in it at all. And it's just one of the greatest records, compositions of all time, I think, and just displaying Donnie Hathaway's talent as a writer, as a musician. Yes.
But it's the story that like gives another hook. And I mean, when you talk about that, even you know, I guess rest in peace to this one too, Roy Ayers. And Roy's relationship with Detroit, period.
Yes.
But like I had like a lens of of like how I looked at the Roy Ayers albums as a kid.
Yes.
And my dad kind of had those. And then it's like I got older where it's like, nah, it's more going on in a lot of intentionality, community, blackness. It's like, this is, you know what I'm saying? But some of it would be layered with more of the stories being shared by, you know, like your perspective of giving context to things.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like, for instance, every now and then I may play my story that I created of What's Going On by Marvin Gaye, the creation and how he came about doing that, and that the song was actually a song written by one of the Four Tops, and he wanted the originals to sing it. And he thought, well, wait a minute, let's run this by Marvin and see what he thinks. And Marvin thought, okay, well, wait a minute, I like this. And they're in the studio late one night working on What's Going On, and Marvin is hanging out with Lem Barney and Mel Farr from the Lions, and he says, hey, you guys want to be on the record? And that's where that chatter comes from in the beginning. Hey, what's happening, man? What's going on? Groovy, solid, yeah, and then the music comes in for What's Going On. But they were just hanging out together. But then they need a bass line done for the song. And who do they go get? They get the greatest bass player for Motown, which was James Jamerson. He's at the 20 grand finishing up a gig. And he had a few drinks, but they bring him over, man, and he's just so out of it that he lays on the floor of the studio in Motown, and that's how he plays the bass line on What's Going On. Yeah, so no, it's just stories like that, man, that I get the opportunity to share and tell on the radio, and it's just an awesome blessing to be able to do that.
And it adds more context to it. And that's where like I can only know like your memoir of these stories, because part of this also in your journey, you've met many of these artists, and actually some of them kind of connect even with my family. You did the 18th wedding anniversary of my parents, Mom and Jan Frazier. So my mom, Jan Frazier, dad, Greg Frazier, and at the time, one of their clients was Don Bosco Hall. If people know, Don Bosco Hall was like a boys' home that really offered a lot of opportunity to young men that were possibly even younger than like juvenile system, and then like a little bit aging out, and what type of opportunities be offered through them. But Dr. Charles Small and many others organized it. And my parents said, well, for our 18th anniversary, we want to give back to this organization. So it's at Cobo Hall. And I knew him as somebody that had a like landscaping service, but Ralph was a member of the Floaters.
Wow.
And the Floaters end up doing they were the performance act, and you're the MC at that event. So I'm thinking, like, man, I'm like, wow.
Wow, how long ago was that?
This is 1990. This is 1998.
Okay, wow. Wow.
Yeah. Okay. So like all this stuff, it's like, you know what I'm saying? But you've had these experiences with these acts, and now it's like you even have like personal tales with it, and even your crew. Shout out to Teresa. Teresa, I think, is amazing too.
She is. Teresa Hill. She's amazing. Lady T. Lady T.
Yeah. So like, and then even staying in business and still like adding fun, bringing your daughter into this. That's the other part of the tree. We went to the Digital Recording Institute of Detroit together. I think we were like the youngest people in that class.
Wow.
And some of those classes was long.
Yeah.
Brandy McBride, shout out to Brandy.
Brandy Mitchell now. Yeah.
Okay. Brandy Mitchell, shout out. But yeah, man, like, and you've balanced still enjoying the music itself, staying in business and growing this, and sharing it with others. I can only imagine just so many of the stories within that memoir that open up really still through like a passion and this connection to music itself.
No, absolutely, man. I've just been very fortunate to, first of all, I've done a lot of voiceovers for a lot of artists, and had the chance to actually talk to a few who I thought were just really wonderful people. I think one of the most memorable interviews that I had and spending time with somebody in the studio was Roger Troutman. And just a fun, loving guy, man, and just always he just wanted to have fun. But anyway, he shows up in the studio while I was on WJLB, and he shows up with his keyboard. Wow. And attached to his keyboard is a plastic tube. And I'm like, what's going on here, man? Anyway, he sets the keyboard down, and he says, man, where's the outlet? And he plugs it up, and he sticks his tube in his mouth. And he talks to me in the interview and through this talk box, the way he does, man, on the records. Like, hey, good morning, Gerald.
Wow.
I'm doing fine.
Wow.
You know, that's like, this was just, and he did the whole interview like that.
Wow.
You know, and I'm taking calls on the air, man, and he's talking through this talk box and playing music, man. Just one of the best interviews ever was with Roger Troutman, and I was just so sad to hear how his life was taken by his brother.
Yeah, that was sad. Very tough tragedy for that. But also part of that, like that Dayton, Ohio, Detroit connection.
Yeah.
Of like all this like funk music and shout out to Don Davis.
The other interview that I thought was just wonderful was having an opportunity to spend about an hour with Stevie Wonder. And but you can ask Stevie 2 questions and it takes him an hour. So and he just, he talks so well, first of all, Gerald, let me just kind of tell you what I think. But no, Stevie was just wonderful, man. Just a wonderful guy, very friendly, and I'm never surprised at seeing Stevie at a funeral. I mean, he has showed up for almost everybody, man. That's the kind of respect he just has for people in general. And it's not always some of the big star. I mean, I'm just seeing him show up. If he had a relationship with you, he's going to come and support. And just such a great guy. And just a wonderful, you're talking about a lot of knowledge, man, musical knowledge, and talking into him, and his stories are just truly amazing. Yeah.
I can't, like, even, you know what I'm saying? Like that, that John Conyers relationship to the Happy Birthday song to Martin Luther King Day becoming a day.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then I also had the opportunity to talk with Aretha Franklin on several occasions, and I have recordings of our interview and just a wealth of knowledge as well. And when I say she's the queen, she really treats herself as the queen, and she's just she was just a great person, and with a lot of wealth of knowledge.
From my understandings and like kind of like passing throughs, similar to like one of the most beloved Detroiters, like Coleman Young. A lot of the context for the divaism that people talk about with Aretha, like it's context for it. Like they jump to her response before you get the background of why. You know what I'm saying? So like a lot of that, like like getting paid cash. Before I perform, it exists because it's not like, one day it's just like, Randy Martin, I need straight cash on me. It's because I've seen too many things happen where sometimes accounting gets funny.
Another great interview, man, that I had the opportunity of doing was with the Dramatics and Ron Banks and actually Michael Henderson. And the reason why I say that interview was so special is because both of them actually did a version of a song called Be My Girl. And actually Michael Henderson recorded it first.
Wow.
And his version did okay, but once he recorded it for the Dramatics, or actually created and produced it for the Dramatics, the song went to #1. But to hear them share that story and what it was like in the studio and working together is just an interview that I still enjoy listening to and rerunning on my show often. Yeah.
Man, definitely rest in peace, Ron Banks.
Yeah.
My mom passed in 17. My mom loved the Dramatics.
Yeah.
And so it's like, post, you know what I'm saying? I listen to the Dramatics a whole lot more.
Yeah.
And the Lord knows, you've done this one before too. And I'm like one of those people, it's like, how can you say a group's better than the Temptations? I feel like and I love a lot of the Temptations catalog too, because it's like different modes and sounds of that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, Ali and, Dennis Edwards and Eddie Kendricks and David Ruffin, like all are like, I think like specific, unique sounds. But I don't know. It's just like, to me, like the arc of the Dramatics music, it feels, it's a lot of variation I get with
It is.
Dramatics,
Oh my goodness. It is. And I remember seeing them for the first time, actually, when my brother actually started his professional career playing bass for the Dramatics, and they were actually opening up for James Brown. And you're talking about a group with so much excitement and energy, and then, I mean, to be able to move as fast as they did and then step back up to the mic and the harmony just be right on point.
Yeah.
Every note just crystal clear, man. And you would think they'd be out of breath, man. But of course, back then they were in their 20s, man. But man, one of the sharpest groups ever was the Dramatics, and praise God that L.J. Reynolds is still around and keeping the spirit of the Dramatics alive. But yeah, man, just Detroit and the Dramatics. That's just something special. I play the Dramatics a lot because, my show, of course, is from Detroit, and we're sharing a lot of dramatic songs and some album cuts that I think that they're hearing in some of these other cities from my show. Yeah. That we're introducing them to a lot of songs that a lot of people didn't know about. Some album cuts, man. Some of those album cuts, man, that the Dramatics did. But just got so many great hits, man. But the harmony was just so smooth. Smooth. So I think my point is that I think they're a good matchup for the Temptations. Even the Temptations are world-renowned, but I think the Dramatics always give the Temptations a good run for the
they get my vote, and and even part of it is also, Butch Jones.
Now, what's your favorite song by the Dramatics?
Man, it's tough because like I say, because it's so different. Like sometimes it'll be Falling, sometimes it'll be Just Shopping.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Sometimes it'll be What You See Is What You Get.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is Be My Girl. You know what I'm saying? I love the harmonies of that. What's that? Don't Make No Promises.
Is that Treat Me Like a Man? Don't hurt me, don't hurt me.
No, it's like it'd be like, baby, don't. I can't sing for that. Make me no promises.
Okay.
And then it's like it like because it has those transitions, and it's like, what is going on? It's like, what is going on here? How are they even? You know what I'm saying? Their interpretations of Me and Mrs. Jones. It's like,
now there's some good harmony right there. That's a good example of the harmony that was so smooth, and just hearing LJ talk about that album, how it features, three of them actually doing the lead vocals on that song, and then the harmony just being so smooth. Yeah. They took that remake to a whole nother level to me.
It feels, like it's hard sometimes to like make remakes sound different. The only thing I compare it to is like, I still, you know what I'm saying, like talk about people I wish I could have met, but like, I just would have liked to ask Isaac Hayes. It's like, when you heard this Burt Bacharach, how did you hear this?
Isn't that something I'd like to, it would have been nice. I never got a chance to really interview Luther Vandross. I did get a chance to meet him, but didn't get a chance to really sit down and talk with him. But man, the remakes that he did, I thought he was always like the king of remakes. Somebody just suggested that I do Luther versus the remakes.
Wow.
Just like 2 hours.
So like you hear like Dionne Warwick, and
then you hear Luther. Right. Then you hear Going in Circles by Friends of Distinction. Then you hear Luther's version. Then you hear Stevie Wonder's Knocks Me Off My Feet, then you hear Luther's. I kind of like that idea. Actually, I think I'm going to do that.
I like it too. And as a Detroiter, and my mom loved him too. I'm just going to tell you, I think Luther's going to win in a landslide.
You think? On every song? On every song? Okay, let me think about it, Kari.
I don't know about everybody.
Okay. Stevie Wonder's Knocks Me Off My Feet or Luther's. I'd have to give it to Stevie.
I'd give it to Stevie too.
Yeah. But Stevie Wonder's creeping and Luther Vandross is creeping. Luther?
Yeah.
Okay. Luther. Yeah. I think I go.
I'm telling you, it's gonna be looking like.
I think I might do that, man. That actually sounds like a really good idea. Somebody just suggested that, man.
Would be that would actually be something people would connect with.
Wow.
So, I mean, this was a great discussion. I know you said like, yo, you're going to get a book. People want to connect with the book, learn so much more about just you and your journey. How do they get the book?
Well, the book is available at geraldmcbride.com, and that's spelled with a G. I know a lot of people want to spell Gerald with a J, but it's Gerald, McBride, McBride, McBride.com.
Okay.
And you go online and order the book, and I'll be doing some book signings, but you can find out about that on the website. And also, if you're listening to the show, I always mention where we're going to be. We got a couple of book signings coming up.
Okay.
But no, the book has been an amazing journey. I was inspired to do the book, as I mentioned earlier. Actually, a cousin called me and said, hey, look, can you jot down a couple of things about your life? Because we're putting together a family, photo book, and we just want to get some information behind, some of the people in our family so that when next generation gets this book, they'll know who you are and. And I thought, wow, that's a great idea. Actually, I recommend that, man. I think that's just so very, very important. I wish I could have got more stories from my parents who are both deceased. And, they kind of tell you these stories, and you kind of remember them and you ask, well, who was this and who was that? And, but man, it's nothing like writing down the details of who you are, and not just who you are, but some of the experiences that you've had in life. And which I think is very important, because I've told my kids stories about my radio career and how I got to this job and that job and just things that I've gone through in life. But it's nothing like writing it down and really giving them details, because now they're reading the book and they're like, okay, you told us that, but you didn't tell us all of that.
Yeah. I didn't get this detail.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So they're actually learning a lot. And not only that, I think my listeners are just kind of giving my listeners an opportunity to get to really know who I am and some of the things that I've gone through. And I think another point in the book is that I think they hear us on the air, Kari, and they think we're having a good time and, everything is great. And, but, when you kind of pull back the curtain behind the life of a radio personality, you'll see that, we're human and we've gone through some things and we had some challenges in our life despite, having to be on the radio and have to smile all the time. But behind the scenes, man, there is some tough times. I talk about a lot of stuff in the book. Of course, how I got started in radio. And if I could tell you this quick story.
Yes, please do.
My first job, after I graduated out of Mumford, I went to Spec Howard School of Broadcasting and I get my degree and I'm expecting to get a job in radio. And, I've been listening to the radio all my life and just been waiting for that, this opportunity. This is my dream. Okay. I'm going to be on the air. And, it took about 6 months and I finally get a job working in a carpet store after I graduated, cleaning toilets, man. Yeah. But anyway, I have a placement service at Spec Howard School of Broadcasting that was headed by a guy by the name of Dick Kernan. And he was sending my tapes out and resumes, and I just couldn't land a job. Finally, I get a call back from a station in Flint, Michigan, AM station called WAMM. And the guy, I get him on the phone. He says, yeah, I like your tape, and we're going to give you a shot. We're going to give you a show Saturday afternoon, 1 day a week from 3 to 6. But before you get this shift, I need you to come up to the station for a week before your shift so you can learn the board. Because back then, you got all these knobs, you got turntables, you got cart machines, you got the certain things that you have to say at this time, and learn the format, what record's supposed to be played when and how and what. I mean, it's a lot. And so I went up and sat with the afternoon guy for 1 week, and then Saturday rolls around and it's my time to go on the air. And I'll never forget walking into the studio, and the DJ before me says, up next is Gerald McBride. And Kari, I thought, oh my goodness, this is it. This is the moment I've been waiting for all of my life. Wow. And I sat down. The guy leaves out of the studio, and I sat down and, just looking at the board and trying to remember everything. And man, I'm thinking right then the whole world is getting ready to tune into this little AM station to hear me. And my nerves, man, just started getting nervous and I'm thinking, oh, anxiety is building up, man. And I cue up my record, and I'm getting ready to do the station ID, which was supposed to be WAMM Flint, man. I turn on the mic, and I get ready to hit the record, and I knock the arm off the record, and it goes over the air, man. The program director runs in before I could say my first word, and he says, "You're fired.
Wow.
Get out of the studio."
Wow.
Kari, it was one of the worst days in my life, man. I'll never forget thinking, man, I blew it. I'll never get another shot. That was the longest ride, man.
Oh, I can imagine that 45 minute, or like hour, 45 minute drive.
Hour ride back to Detroit, man. Yeah, to come back and, and tell my, my girlfriend and my mom and dad, like, man, I messed up. I blew it. And, man, I just thought I'd never get another chance. But fortunately, I had a friend that worked there, and he talked to the program director into giving me another chance. About 3 months later, he called me back. Wow. And, of course, the second time I nailed it, and the rest is history.
I love that story as, it's really just like, people talk about, like, what's that? Self-actualization, meaning basically we have these dreams, we have these ideas and plans and where it's going to go. Then when you're there, if you haven't actualized it, it can become overwhelming. You'll be surprised, like those times where people are like, man, I couldn't, my mouth was moving, but I wasn't saying nothing.
No. But then the other thing, Kari, is that we're going to make mistakes in life.
Very much so.
And we just got to learn to pick ourselves back up and try again and try again and try again. And, I would continue to have things like that would happen in my life. And it's just important that you just learn to continue to persevere. And most important, and the reason why my book is called God and the DJ, because I had to learn how to trust God in so many different ways, and as I navigated my way through this career.
Oh, I mean, especially in this industry, because I think one of the toughest are in that, but like any form of business, but especially when we're talking about messaging of people, because the resolve it takes, the path it takes, it's definitely going to take faith.
Absolutely.
And that understanding of, what do I say, especially when it comes to business, the best lessons you learn are going to be those tough lessons.
Absolutely.
It's going to be those tough lessons because kind of like, even like, let's say you go there and you hit it out the park, you rather strike out and foul out early.
That's
in
true.
the game than later.
That's
never dealt with it.
Yeah,
it can
absolutely.
become so overwhelming that you don't even have a context of it.
That's
Whereas
a good point.
if you kind of know a little bit of the bop or where you got to go, it will help prepare you. As I can't stress upon enough of like, boy, nothing teaches you a great lesson, and I got a master's in business and all of these.
Then to fail.
Losing money. Starts crystallizing business more than you would ever imagine.
All of that. That is so true. Another very important story that in the book that I share is once I established my company, Voiceover Productions, and we're doing pretty good. I actually had a client who came into town, and he says, "Hey, can you take me to a hockey game?" And I was like, hockey? Never been to a hockey game. Sure. He says his son was playing for University of they were playing for his son was playing for UMass, and they were playing for playing against University of Michigan. So we drive up. I take him up to Ann Arbor, and we're at the game, and it's sold out. Car, it's 10,000 seats, and I look around, and I'm like, wow, I'm the only black guy in here. Like, where are the black people in this sport? And right then and there, man, I really believe God gives me an idea for a movie. And I'm thinking, wow, I got to get this movie done. So I started writing the script. I didn't have any experience. I, of course, produced a lot of radio and TV commercials. But, when you just get an idea for something like that, man, and it's just like, I just started writing on notepads the story and knowing exactly who the characters were and what was going to happen from the beginning to the end. And I just kept writing and writing and writing. And then I finally thought, well, maybe I need to take this serious because I can see this as a movie. And I remember getting the software, Final Draft, and then putting it into a actual movie script. And I just kept working it, and I started sending it to some of my friends who were actually in Hollywood who had produced a couple of movies. And I sent it to one. He says, okay, man, let's take a look and see if your script can stand up here to to what they're looking at in the industry, and as a good script, and he sent it to his agent. And the agent marked my script up so bad, it was like a bad report card. It had red lines through it and zeros, and this doesn't make sense. Yeah. And I remember balling that script, man, up and throwing it in the trash, man, thinking, man, let me just get back to doing my radio show and my radio TV commercials and running voiceover productions. But something inside me said, pick that thing back up. Almost like, that first time that I failed on the radio, man, no, get back up and try it again. And that's what I did. And this would go on for almost 10 years, man. And I finally started, sending it out again. And I actually got some response. And we're going to get some investors and people were talking, putting up, 3 or 4 million to make the movie. They really thought, the script had potential. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, COVID hits. And I lose contact with all of those people. Coming out of COVID, I'll never forget sitting in church and the pastor said something and it just struck a nerve like, no, you need to get this movie done and you need to do it yourself. Stop counting on other people, because I kept trying to push it to Hollywood. Yeah. So I stepped out and decided to do it myself as the director, as a writer, and as the executive producer and getting this movie done. And I started in 2022 putting my cast together and putting the crew together and working on all the pre-production. And May 15th, man, I got a little small loan, and that's what we shot them. Nowhere near
4 million. Yeah.
Nowhere near any of that. Okay, it was just a little bit of money. Yep. And just thought, okay, I'm just going to make a local film here with some local actors, and that's exactly what I did. And the movie is called Black Ice, The Rhythm, and it's the story of young black hockey players, actually one in particular, who deals with racism. He gets into a very bad brawl on the ice, and he takes his frustration and anger out on a white player, and he almost kills the guy. And this young black hockey player goes to jail for several years, and he gets out. When he gets out, they send him to an all-black neighborhood where there's an abandoned hockey rink, and he teaches these young kids how to play hockey, and they become a championship team. Wow! And the movie is on Amazon Prime right now. Okay. And it's called The Rhythm. Amazon Prime, Tubi, Apple TV, Roku, and YouTube movie. Okay. So now, man, it's been an amazing experience in making this transition into film, and making inspirational films and learning the whole film industry from top to bottom, from directing to writing to producing to distribution. I learned it all in 15 years. And if you get a chance, watch the movie. The Rhythm.
I'm gonna definitely check it out. I'm gonna definitely check it out.
And you can see it you can go to the website, which is therhythmmovie.com. therhythmmovie.com. So that's kind of where I am in my career, man. I got a few more scripts that I'm producing, and of course want to make this transition into the movie industry. And because it's nothing like seeing people's reaction when the movie did a 2-week run in theaters, and just watching the people watch the movie and enjoy it and walk away with something. Walk away with something. And, one of the themes in this movie is don't be afraid, just believe. As the coach is being mentored by his grandmother, and that's one of the things that she continues to tell him. Look, you can make it in this. Don't be afraid, just believe. And while I'm writing that, I'm walking that out in real life too, and thinking, I don't know anything about making a movie, but of course God saw something different in me. And here we are with the movie on streaming platforms right now. Okay.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to checking it out myself. Thank you so much for that. And I don't necessarily even see this as the last time we're going to sit down and have one of these discussions. This was
absolutely.
This was definitely very cool.
Yeah,
very cool.
Man, thank you for having me, man. Thank you so much. And I'm so proud of you, man. I saw you just... Man, as a kid, a teenager, man, it just, it was something special about you. And I just want to just mention this is that, I see a lot of kids who say they want to do something or be something, but you can tell whether or not they're really interested, if they're paying attention, if they're being obedient to things that they're being told to do. And you were just one of those kids who I knew was always special that I knew was going to make it or do something in this business special. And
wow.
And here you are, man. I'm sitting in this beautiful podcast studio,
Thank you.
man. And so I'm not surprised at all, man. And I saw your podcast, maybe about a month ago. I was like, look at this dude, man. This is so cool. This is so cool. But I'll never forget you hanging out in that studio, man. We were just getting started over there at River Place, and you may have been 13 or 14 years old, man.
Yeah, I mean, what I remember and like most, because this is, I love music. So you all would get all of these promotional albums. So I was able to listen to albums I never would buy,
right?
Especially like when it come to anything hip hop. But also I was able to this is back in the day for people that like it, but I really read through credits to find out kind of similar to what Donnie Simpson was doing, like who's playing on this, who produced this, what studio they were at.
That's right.
Like, I mean, 13, like really maybe like 11 to like 17. If it was like any almost hip hop artist, I could tell you like what producer, what studio, and like this stuff is like the thought process of what led to the equipment I wanted to learn and things like that. Because that was what found it to, I had no idea that podcasting existed, but it comes into play now.
Yeah, man. Well, awesome. Well, keep up the great work.
Thank you. So I got to hit you with the classic Detroit is Different questions now.
Yeah.
Very first car, year, make, and model, year you get it.
Oh, my goodness. 1976, I got a 1972 Dodge Dart.
Okay.
That had a nice stereo system in it, man. Had the Kenwood in there, man. The Kenwood cassette deck.
All right.
But it had a big dent on the passenger side door, and I bought it for $150, and it drove like a tank. And I love that car, man.
Okay. Where's the first place you went when you got it?
Oh, golly, I don't know, man. My girlfriend and I, we went a little bit of everywhere. I can't remember exactly where we went, man. I don't know. Probably to the Dairy Queen. We spent a lot of time at a Dairy Queen up on 6 Mile in Livernois.
All right.
Right across from UD. Yeah.
Okay. So this one, you definitely, I don't know, this may be tougher for you. You're the DJ at the end of the Detroit fireworks, Woodward and Jefferson. You get to play 2 songs. What songs you playing?
Knee Deep by Parliament Funkadelic.
Okay. That has been selected before as well.
And then
Love
one
that
slow
song.
and then one slow song, Love's Holiday by Earth, Wind and Fire.
Oh man, this is a DJ. You can tell.
You play one, see, because 15 minutes after you dance for 15 minutes to Knee Deep, man, you got to play one slow jam after that. You don't just hit them with another fast jam. No, you got to slow it down. Love's Holiday, Earth, Wind, and Fire.
I love it. I love both. I love both those records. Those are amazing records. You got Felipe on vocals.
That's right.
Band.
That's right. That's right.
Which another classic Detroit is Different story. Go back to the Butch interview and also the Satori Shakur interview, because they both got different interpretations of how Felipe entered into the Funkadelic mix.
Right.
And then the last question, you could rename Woodward after one Detroiter. Who would it be and why?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably Berry Gordy.
Okay.
Berry Gordy Boulevard, if there isn't one. Yeah, Berry Gordy Boulevard.
Read his autobiography, To Be Loved. It's a lot of stories, and also from, as I say, that's the cool thing. What they say, it's like your side, my side, and truth. I don't necessarily know about that, but it's definitely different perspectives upon everyone, especially when it comes to a lot of those Motown stories. But the Gordy family itself, what they mean to the city of Detroit, and then his creative journey from songwriter into Motown.
Absolutely.
Phenomenal.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Peace.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Appreciate you. God bless you.
Yep.
Detroit is different. Detroit is different. Culture and life we live